To get in contact with you later. Yep. Alright, hello.
Yeah, whenever you're ready.
Alright, let's go. Your name is?
My name's Sophie.
And you consent to this interview, right?
Yes.
Yes. Just a bit of oral, confirmation. Anyway, well, who are you going as today?
Today I'm dressed as Dark Rukia from the Bleach movies.
Ah. So, how long have you been cosplaying?
I've been cosplaying since 2012, so a good few years now, I reckon.
Over a year ago, I filmed a documentary at MCM Comic Con in Birmingham. I had asked cosplayers a number of questions pertaining to their hobby and their relationship with it. Ultimately, I felt that it fell a bit short, so I arranged to meet up with one of that film's major contributors to learn more about how the cosplay had played a role in her life. This is the nice countryside. So, what made you think that cosplay was the hobby for you?
That's a good one, actually. Originally I got into it through just sort of talking with friends, so it was originally the whole, it's a good idea, let's give it a try, seeing it on the internet. And then from there it kind of spanned off into a lot bigger of a thing. So we originally thought it was going to be some sort of phase that I'd get into and then just sort of stop doing or just get over and get bored of it. But it's actually opened up to a lot more people, meeting different friends and sort of going a lot further than that. And because of that, I've ended up sort of going with it and saying, yeah, this is what I kind of want to do. To be honest, I don't do very much else.
After gaining an understanding of how she became interested in cosplay, I wanted to ask her about the kind of work and finances that goes into creating one of her costumes. So, with a rough estimate, how much time does it take to go from concept to the completed piece?
That really depends on the actual piece I'm working on. So it can be anything from a day to a few months to even a year, depending on what it is trying to build.
But money, how much money do you think a cosplay can cost, for someone, of your skill?
Okay, so money in costumes, it can really depend on what you're doing and if you've got material inside the house already. I've been known to spend anything from nothing on a project all the way up to over £100 to £200. That's usually a really big project, so a full thing from start to finish. Luckily enough, with something, most of the time I'll have something in the house already that's going to work for the project, so I don't have to worry about any money or funding issues. But occasionally stuff like thermoplastic needs to be involved, wigs, plastic beads, anything that needs to be involved can rack up money. But usually things such as foam board like this one, or cardboard, are usually quite easy to come by. But also I have been prone to finding things when walking around, so if you're walking outside and see that perfect tree branch, that may be useful. Obviously it's not on the tree still, but something like that, it's always good to try and find things that you can use and also recycle if possible.
I also wanted to take a look at some of Sophie's past projects. She said that she had got a number of old materials and props. So what's this you're holding then?
Okay, so this is one of my examples of a project that hasn't gone to plan. So a lot of people, when they see my finished products, usually tend to think that there's never any faults and things always go 100% perfect. But as you can see from this one, especially around here, it hasn't quite gone to plan. So with this, what looks like has happened is that we've had a break here between the masking tape that I've used and the actual cardboard in between, and as you can see it's still breaking now.
Stigma between buying and making cosplays.
Okay, so with that there is a lot of people in the community say buying costumes isn't how you should cosplay, and some people even go to the point saying that it's not cosplay. However, that's not how it should be. So some people have the skill to make costumes and stuff, that's great. If you don't have the skill to make costumes, buying costumes is perfectly acceptable as well. It's just down to preference, I guess, sometimes. But also, some of the costumes are pretty impossible to make, so buying them is usually the best option. But it can also be cheaper just to buy them, because when you get through the amount of materials and stuff, if you find that you're spending £60 on materials and not even considering your effort and put into it, and you can buy something for £50 online, then most people would go for buying it. It's a lot simpler.
Given the details on the props and the costumes she had produced in the past that I had seen, I too admittedly found it hard to believe that Sophie struggled with some of her more recent projects, and that led to my next question. Self-confidence and body confidence. How does that apply to you in cosplay?
So for me in cosplay, something that people wouldn't quite expect from me is that when I'm out of costume, then I'm a lot less confident than I am when I'm in costume. So in a way, the costume works sort of like a mask and hides who I really am. Bit cliche, but it basically makes me a lot more confident to go and do things. So much so now, just to even wearing a wig or in part of a costume will make me confident. It kind of helps with the confidence like that as well. Body confidence, it works in the same way. So I've done things all the way from something like this, really quite clothed, to things that are not as clothed, to some things that are even worse than that. So the confidence in my body in costumes has come quite a long way. But what also helps with the confidence in that side would be the support that you get from people who follow you and are there for you and all friends and all sorts of stuff as well.
With that said, I wanted to ask what I felt was a more personal question. What's your opinion on the sexualization of cosplay?
Ooh. Okay. So, this is something that's quite common in the world of cosplay now, especially as it's getting more mainstream, and a lot of people are using it now as a form of income funding. So there is a lot more sexualization in the business than there was in previous years. And also with the stigma that geek is sexy and that sort of thing as well, it's all kind of gone up in the world of sex, because in a way most people believe that sex sells. However, as far as I have no issue with people doing that, I also feel like there is a barrier that people need to understand. So for example, when people do burlesque versions of characters, such as like Disney characters or other child known characters, I can't help but sort of realise that it would be those sort of things that young children will be going up to and seeing and recognising as their characters. And I know that these people aren't trying to do any harm or anything when they're doing these costumes, but to think, what will a 5-year-old think if they see, I don't know, Mickey Mouse in a burlesque outfit? You see what I mean? It gives you a really strange impression, but also then the parents, what are they going to think? Even though children are really sort of invulnerable to things such as like innuendos and things like that, they will still have that sort of different conception of how things are based on what they see.
Sexuality in cosplay is something that I've noticed become a bit of a hot debate. However, if we look only for the sex appeal, then I think we will be doing these cosplays a disservice. After the interviews, we arranged to meet up at the then upcoming Manchester MCM Comic Con on the 29th of July. I had attended a number of conventions before, and I must say they are a spectacle to behold. With costumes of all shapes and sizes and characters from many different series. People, regardless of race, age or even disability, appeared at this convention, and many others. It definitely seems like cosplay has something for everyone. Hello again, Sophie.
Hi.
And you just come back from a Comic-Con?
It's still ongoing, just taking a bit of a break between conning and all the rest, so a bit of time to recharge before going back out and doing more stuff.
So what cosplay have you got here then?
Okay, so this is my, as we also known as Sue from My Hero Academy or Boku no Hero Academia.
Do you want to stand up and show us some more of it?
Can do. Standing up is not going to work here, but a bit of a small tone.
Ah, excellent. And what's the difference? Why did you choose this costume over the one that was originally intended?
The one I was originally going to wear for today didn't get finished in the end. I was working on it and just completely lost motivation to drive for it. Oh. And also when I was working on her, I didn't like her at all.
So how fast did this cosplay take to make?
A lot of it was just bought in parts, so I'd probably say only about 2-3 weeks, considering how quickly I was trying to get it done. Because basically a few guys were going to do the characters from the series already, so I kind of jumped in and wanted to join, so a little bit of a rush to get everything ready in time, but a mixture of ordering and buying and building, and it got there in the end.
So you've met with the cosplayers from around the country today in your meet and greet?
Yeah. We originally started off as just a trio of us, and then we kind of got to a group of about 20 to 30 people, I think. It's quite a big group.
So do you stay in touch outside of conventions?
Yeah, most of my friends I have outside of conventions are actually convention friends anyway.
Yeah.
Don't have many people to talk to otherwise. But basically, yeah, most of the time it's just talking to plan up the next big thing.
Yeah. So essentially your web of influence grows and grows with each successive con, because you're always going to meet
Correct.
new people.
Yep, that is correct. So you have people who are joining in the cosplay community all the time, and then people who can make certain events that can't make others. So you're always meeting people, regardless.
What's your intention for the rest of the day?
For the rest of the day, probably try and find people that I haven't yet found, because because of how large my network of friends is due to cosplay. I do see a few people from a distance, or you'll see them in the queue as you're walking in, but trying to find them inside the con can be your worst nightmare.
In conclusion, I had gained a lot of new insight into cosplay through my time with Sophie. I learned that this hobby had contributed to her personal growth and confidence in herself. She was able to tap into aspects of herself that she may never have known she had otherwise, and she shows no signs of stopping anytime soon. This is what I believe is the draw of cosplay, and keeps them coming back, to be something the real world wouldn't let them be, if only for a day.